How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Prince Andrew being fired by his mother, Queen Elizabeth. This is contrary to the popular story that's out there floating around in the media, which says he voluntarily stepped down from public life. No, that's not what happened. He was summoned to Buckingham Palace, and he was fired right there on the spot by his mother. Now, this is a pretty deep story. I'm going to try to get to every particular point in it, but let's go back a little bit to explain what's happening here, why he got fired, what's going on, why it's important, why it's a story. Now, Prince Andrew is 8th in line to become the next king of England. If his mom were to pass away and others up there were to pass away or abdicate the throne, whatever the case may be, he could become the king of England just like that. He is very close to the top. He's always out there in public life. He's taught to charities and organizations. You see him everywhere with his father, his mother, his brother, his extended family, his kids, etc. He is a part of the royal family. That will not be the case anymore, at least not in the public way. He's pretty much been retired, quote unquote retired, from being part of the whole situation. Now, why is it important? Because it's pretty embarrassing to the royal family, quite frankly. You know, they got a, this quote unquote pristine image, and he could become the next king. You can't have a guy like that be disgraced and be in that position. Now, why did he get disgraced? What's going on here? Well, he's tied to Jeffrey Epstein. I've done videos on this before. I've talked about how the Lolita Express have had different people, very powerful leaders in nations, dukes, princes, presidents, prime ministers, etc. We all know about Slick Willie, Bill Clinton, who had been on the plane like 26 times, probably went to the island as well. Prince Andrew was a close friend to Jeffrey Epstein, very close. Unfortunately for him, he decided to talk about his friendship with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, the quote unquote girlfriend who was procuring the young girls for Epstein and his rich, powerful friends to sexually abuse that were underage. Yeah, that's her. He's friends with both of them. And he went on BBC to talk about this the other day. So it's no surprise right after that he gets fired from public life. I don't know why he would go on TV and talk about it, because it just made him look even worse. Let's talk about that interview. I would play it here, but I know for 1,000% sure BBC would not allow it. So I'll link to that full thing in the box below. Moving right along, in the interview, he was saying how he was friends with Ghislaine and Epstein, and he couldn't have avoided Epstein because he was friends with Ghislaine. It's like, that doesn't make it any better. So you were friends with a terrible person in Ghislaine, and of course you're going to be around other terrible people like Epstein. How about you just don't be friends with bad people, and then you won't be friends with other bad people? Just maybe. I'm just throwing it out there just because it kind of makes sense. Prince Charles, his brother, was able to avoid Epstein and Ghislaine, and so was everybody else in his family, but he wasn't. It seems pretty weird, but I'll move on. Not only was he friends with both of them, he had also been on the plane before, hung out with Epstein. He says, I don't party, this, that, and the third. Meanwhile, there are pictures of him that surface with girls that look very young. I can't tell if they're underage or not, but it looks kind of fishy to me, but we'll move on. So you out here partying with young girls, hanging out with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, what else are you doing? Epstein got locked up on child sex trafficking charges in 2008. This is the first time he got locked up. Not the most recent time where he got suicided or whatever. Not that time. But in 2008 in Florida, the whole slap on the wrist thing, okay? It was a slap on the wrist. He was allowed to travel all this, that, and the third. But everybody at that point knew that he was a child predator. It was not a secret. That's why he went to jail. That was the charge, okay? After he comes home, there's a dinner for him, a private dinner. It was crazy because the interviewer, I forget her name, the interviewer was saying, hey, weren't you a special invited guest at a welcome home party for Jeffrey Epstein? And he was like, nah, it wasn't a coming home party. It was a private dinner. It was like 8 people there. So it was like, you made it worse. Not only did you attend this event as a guest of honor, it was also a very private event. It was an intimate event. If Epstein is this big popular guy, but only 8 people showed up and you were the guest of honor, I mean, That made it worse. That means that that's your friend, your deep and personal friend. And moving beyond that, in 2010, he went to New York, if I'm not mistaken, and stayed with Epstein for 4 days. Now, the question was asked, hey, why'd you stay with Epstein for 4 days? After he had been convicted, locked up, and released on the child sex trafficking thing, he was like, oh, it was convenient. It's like, really? Convenient? First of all, you said that you went to New York to hang out with Epstein for 4 days to end your friendship with him. How does that make any sense? If you don't want to be friends anymore, just don't hang out with him anymore. It's simple. Maybe give him a phone call or something, but you don't got to go out there for 4 days, have a vacation at his house. It doesn't make any sense. And you're Prince Andrew. You can stay wherever you want to stay. Okay. You have privileges that we don't have as regular normies out here. So you don't have to stay right there with Epstein. You could stay elsewhere, but you chose to stay right there with a guy who had already been locked up for sex crimes with minors before. What are you thinking about? Obviously, Prince Andrew is involved in some kind of way. It's clear what's going on. Okay, the royals not going to put him out there like that. They're not going to, give him to the police or anything. That ain't going to happen. They pretty much exist in a whole different spectrum of law, in my humble opinion. So they won't give him to the authorities. They'll handle that in-house because he's blood. If you were not a blood royal, if he were just, a husband or a wife or something like that, he might get Princess Diana'd. It might be a tragic car wreck randomly. Okay, like the royals is not a game. Like people think that it's just kind of like popping circumstance and tradition and, taking pictures. No. It is not that. It is not a game. It is dead serious. Try to assault one of them royal guards and see what happens to you, and see what will happen as a result. And with police, what are they going to do? What's going to happen? Nothing. Okay, it's not a game. So Prince Andrew just embarrassed the royal family and pretty much got removed from the royal family without having that be the case in actuality. He's still a royal. He's still in the line to become king, but I doubt that's going to happen. First of all, he's 8th in line, and the way it works is I think the oldest son that's closest to the throne, their kids become next if they're boys, if I'm not mistaken. So, prime example, you have the Queen Mother. Under her, you have Prince Charles. Prince Charles was married to Princess Diana, and they had 2 kids, Harry and William. They're going to be next after Prince Charles, not Prince Andrew, because he was the second son. That's pretty much how that works. And then their kids, Harry and William, if they have boys, will come after them. That's how that works. So he won't become king, but he most certainly won't be out there with the royal family anymore either. So he is very lucky he's blood. Like I said, if it was not for the blood, he'd probably be missing, tragic suicide, car wreck, accidental poisoning or something like that. They get him out of here. They don't got time for them people, dealing with, pedophilia. They don't got no time for that. The way it works right now, and if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. If Meghan Markle walked into Buckingham Palace and saw a 13-year-old tied up on the ground bleeding, she couldn't say anything. And if she did, it might be a problem. Like I said, tragic car wreck, that could be in the future if you don't do right and you're not a royal. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Prince Andrew deserved to actually get removed from public life? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or should it be a criminal thing? I mean, what did you do when you were on the plane with Jeffrey Epstein? How about these girls that are coming up years later talking about you abused them or you were around, all that and the third? How does that really work with the royals? Can they actually get charged with crimes? Like, is that really a thing in Britain? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.